Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening to this. Welcome to episode 6, I believe, of the Empowered Together podcast. Today I've got Jacob joining me. Jacob, give us an introduction.
Well, first off, thank you for having me, man. Appreciate that. My name is Jacob Egbunike. Nigerian. I'm a bodybuilder. I'm also a coach and a personal trainer. So yeah, that's kind of me as to what I do and what I'm interested in right now, which is bodybuilding. Yeah.
Let's break it down. What got you into bodybuilding?
I always say there's a long story, but I'll keep it short. So basically, I didn't start off wanting to do bodybuilding. Initially, it was just more of a self-improvement phase, right? So I just finished uni. I didn't really like my lifestyle and how I felt in my own body, right? And just thought it was time to make a change. So I started off 2018, literally January, like a new year resolution. I was like, okay, I need to make some changes. And it was more about self-control than anything else. And then so I started different training styles. I was fairly active. I was doing running, I was playing basketball, I was to the gym. And then I think after a year, I was like, actually, so I was training like a couple of guys, right? And in like 3 months, I went from being overweight to like shredded and like muscle on, and everyone was like, how, you know? And I was I just remember being so like, I guess for the first time being like, maybe I'm actually good at something. So I think that kind of stuck with me. And then after a year of like just dabbling with different training styles, I just like Googled how do you make money from like half a muscle, and that's literally what I typed on Google, and then it showed me like bodybuilders and like Olympians and stuff. So I kind of like got interested in that. I started diving deep into like bodybuilding, like watching YouTube, like everyone does, and like following my favorite, athletes on Instagram. Yeah, it's kind of the story.
Cool. So, I want you to touch on one thing you said.
Yeah,
You finally found something you think you would be good at, or
yeah,
you can do something.
yeah.
Where does that come from? So you didn't believe in yourself beforehand, or?
Do you know what it is like growing up? I come from like a typical Nigerian background of like education was paramount. So that was the first thing, which it's not a bad thing, but like I never felt like I was, or like growing up, if I say I wanted to do something, it was always like, nah. It's like I used to love dancing, right? I would break dance. Like MJ was was my guy. It's like I just wanted to be like MJ growing up, and then that got shut down very quickly. Even that I was good at it, right? And then from that to wanting to draw, I started picking up drawing, and it's like I really like this, and then that got shut down. So it's like it kind of felt like a lot of my life is like anything I was interested in either just got shut down, and I never really was able to like dive deep into it and like really get good at that. So this was like the one thing that I had control over. It's like the one thing that I was finally doing that I got some results from it. I got feedback from it and was positive, and it was like, yeah, man, like kind of keep doing this type of thing. So yeah, that felt good. Yeah, definitely felt good.
Why do you think you couldn't do the other things? Why do you always said that if something
Yeah,
stops you, you couldn't?
I think it was just like growing up. You kind of I don't know. Maybe now, like now, I see like the new generation. It's like you almost have power to say something to your parents, like, "Hey, I don't want to do this," and you call them by their name. It's like where I'm from,
I
a
know.
big on respect. Do you know what I mean? It's like so. It's like whatever dad says, whatever mom says is final, and you just have to accept that. And that's kind of what it was mainly. It's like, and it just like I said, coming from that background where education was like the thing. It's like so anything else you said was just noise. And it didn't matter if you were good at it. It didn't matter if, do you know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't convince my parents to change their mind if it wasn't being an engineer, doctor, or like, you know.
Pretty similar to
Yeah,
my culture, yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of what it was. So I think that kind of shut down. I've definitely felt like I've been on the creative side, right? So whether I was dancing, whether I was being into movies, or like just always on that side. I've never been yes, maybe because I used to like fix our like extension wires or like fix something when it's broken, and I had an interest in that. Maybe they thought, oh, you'll be a good engineer, but it's like really and truly like my passion in terms of wanting to do something, even if I don't feel like doing it, was always from like the creative side of things. So yeah, I just it wasn't necessarily definitely I wasn't instilled confidence for sure, because then it would mean like reaffirming the things that I believe in. So I definitely didn't get that from my parents. So yeah, maybe it was lack of confidence at that time, but like not because I didn't think I could do it, but more like didn't get support to do it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
How did it make you feel when you couldn't do those things?
Oh crap, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, I was dying inside. But I was a rebel because I was always like not happy with certain things. But my expression was always just to get in trouble. Just typical situation, man.
How was your relationship with your parents then at the time? Or
It's like a very touchy subject because it's all over the place, man. So growing up was kind of intense. So I remember like vivid pictures I have of my parents together was them fighting at I think I was in, so in Nigeria we have the system of like nursery school, primary school, secondary school, obviously it's called high school when you're in secondary school. But during I think it was either nursery or primary, I can't remember very well, but I remember like it was a fight, and I remember like my mom and dad fighting, and I think his t-shirt, someone was got ripped. Like it was that crazy. People were there, and it was like it was a whole mess. And that was kind of the last time I think I saw them together. Um, and so I ended up moving like to different family members, right? Until we could find something more suitable or more stable. Um, so I wouldn't say I had a good relationship or with my both sides of my parents, my dad or my mom. Even though my dad was he played a major role in my life in terms of supporting like going through school. You know, he did his role, I guess, as a traditional present father, which is okay. Is going to school, does he have clothes, does he have food, type of thing. So I had that from him. And I got to see him every now and then. But my mom, not so much. Throughout that, I'll say maybe I left at 5. I think I saw my mom again when I was like 16. Yeah, I saw her once actually in secondary school. It was like so a real moment because it was the first time I was seeing her in a long time, and then I didn't see her again until I was like 16. So that was that and then I just grew up with my uncle and my aunt for like 8 years. I spent 8 years with them. So yeah, they were like definitely key pillars in terms of like how I turned out to be, if that makes sense. But yeah,
how did firstly, thank you for sharing this. And
yeah.
how did it feel you not having your parents there for that period of time? Like, how did it feel not seeing your mother from the age of 5 to like 16? And
But I was definitely like, there's definitely resentment, man. There's definitely anger. It's like you don't understand why it's happening to you, and like, yeah, you just like almost heartbroken, man. It's like it just happened on one day. It's just like my whole world is crumbling, type of thing. So yeah, definitely like some level of anger and resentment there. And yeah, I think I was that made me very like I was just a rebel, man, growing up, because I was just like, yeah, nothing like there's nothing anyone could give me that would make me happy. Like I just wanted to, be with my mom. So yeah, it was definitely tough, man. It's definitely tough, growing up and just having to deal with that. Yeah.
how was so you mentioned that your father did the typical thing that
Yeah.
the father should do.
Yeah.
What would you avoid from him?
Don't know if there's anything he could have like given me, man. First of all, he had me very old. So he had me, if I'm not wrong, he had me in his 70s. And so I wasn't really expecting much. He wasn't the type to, go to the field and play with me. I mean, I could see physically that I couldn't do that. I think for me, it's just like I would have just been happy with my mom
Okay.
and then just having him there. So like, if I could say like what I wanted, it's like okay, just having that, at least having some kind of like support from actual parents. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't think, like, in hindsight, obviously, maybe then I would have been like, oh, I wish he was around more. But it's like, kind of just had this feeling that he wasn't that sort of dad. Like, even growing up, I don't really have so much memories. So I never really, like, questioned that. I just thought it was normal. And it was like, but my mom was the one that was there the whole time. So it's like, for me, that was my pain. It wasn't necessarily, um, my dad not being there. I just felt like he was definitely a big force in my life that was there. Even though we didn't have the, what you would hope for in a father-son relationship of like, you know, talking, like just sharing stuff and like, we didn't have that, but his presence was definitely there. But like my mom's just like kind of just got shot or cut short rather, at a very early age.
Why was there that gap between age 5 to 16? Was your mother, did she just disappear or?
Yeah, I don't know. Some like, obviously I so stuff you kind of have to grow up. As you grow up, you have to deal with. But I can't really speak for her as to why and where she was and stuff. But my understanding was just that it being a very typical traditional. Um, I mean, now maybe it's a lot more. I mean, there's a lot more light and like people are a lot more like what's the word? Like people are a lot more look down more on like this kind of dynamics now and like they're all in favor of like this like being togetherness, right? Or this togetherness. But I think then it was just like if there was no like law, you take your partner to court and like that just didn't exist. It was literally like, hey, I want my child, and if as a man, if you wanted your child, you get your child. So that's kind of yeah, that was that. So I don't know if it was maybe she couldn't really necessarily do anything. Like even if she wanted to, she wasn't as influential as had the resources like he did. So I can't really blame her. I don't really understand why she wasn't there. Even though growing up, I was like, why did she leave me? Type of thing. But obviously, growing up, I just kind of thought about it as maybe she just didn't have a choice. She couldn't really do anything about it. Yeah, definitely tough for her as well.
Well, being where you are now,
Yeah.
how do you view them now? Do you have a relationship with them now or not?
My dad is late, so he passed on. But I had a phase like during like bodybuilding stuff. And anytime anyone asks me about bodybuilding, I would say it's life because actually, part of my journey in like developing self control and this level of self awareness and like looking inwards and like the mental strength that you develop from this journey is like I had to deal with a lot of these things, right? And one of the things I had to deal with was just really like trying to understand and put myself in his shoes. Like my dad did what he did because that's all he knew, right? And my mom did what she did because that's all she knew. Like they've all had different upbringings and like different situations, and it maybe yes, it's not an excuse, and maybe yes, we can argue on that. But I kind of just had to just see them as just humans, man. And no one is necessarily perfect, and you can only execute things on the level of understanding you have or the level of experience you have, right? So it's like maybe they're just ignorant about certain things, and I had to just like it was a hard pill to swallow, but I had to because then all that does to you is just resentment, right? You just forever going with this like weight on your shoulder, this like heaviness in your heart, like so. In terms of relationship, I'll say it's in a okay place. So before my dad passed, we definitely met up, and I definitely like let go of certain things. And our last meeting actually, it felt like a relief because I was able to express my gratitude for the things he did for me. At least I had him to see my education and like had exposure to certain things that I have now. So for me to even judge, it's like he gave me access to be able to judge it because then the access that he provided is kind of what informed me as to what's right and wrong. So that got probably not in the way I would want to. You like when you watch movies and then you reunite and it's like this hug and the cries and like, you guys become best friends. That didn't happen, but I definitely had peace there, with him because I was angry for a while. And then with my mom, it's more of just like, because she's still alive. It's just more about, I have to understand who she is and, you know, which is the main thing because then you get confused about you expect something that probably isn't there. So I had to make peace with because this is who my mom is, and yeah, I'll say we're in a better place for sure. But yeah, it's like still like a very not so normal like relationship, if that makes sense. With both parents, but yeah. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think it's pretty similar to kind of how I was raised in the sense that we have this image when we're children that our parents are like these larger than life people, we should respect them as we do,
Yeah.
and everything they say is right.
Yeah.
But then same thing when I grew up, I realized that same thing as you mentioned, they were just doing their best with what they have.
Yeah.
And all they really are is still children, just they've got slightly more years on us, but they're still going through their own stuff.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but as you mentioned, like obviously Nigerian culture is very closed off. You don't talk about these things. It's the same thing with Indian culture. You don't really sit down and talk about feelings because it's seen as a weakness.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, they were dealing with their own things, but their way to parent me is what all they knew. And I think, like you've said now, it takes one person to break that cycle.
Yeah, 100%. There's knowledge as well. If you think about it, like, we live in this, but we have no excuse.
Yeah.
Right? We can't say we don't know. It's some information there. It's like, they didn't have Instagram, they didn't have YouTube, they couldn't just Google, how do you deal with trouble? Like, they couldn't, I guess, heal. They had to, like actually live different lives or like live the same way that we might look at like they had to just do what they had to do, right? So I'm having to say, and it's like it'll be very. I think it's very like ignorant to not acknowledge that they didn't have the resources that we had. They couldn't just like just magically like be something they don't know what that is. So I think it's obviously on us to like do better, right? Because we know it's like. And the same way, it's like our kids or grandkids are gonna be like, they could have done better too. It's like, I mean, eventually we should all evolve to a place where we all know.
Mm-hmm.
There's like really no excuse to like, do better basically.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, I'm very much in the case of breaking those cycles and being, that emotional awareness is very important because without that, we just repeat the cycle again. So you're married, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're gonna have kids one day?
That's the plan.
Yeah. What kind of father would you be then?
Ooh. Do you know what? I feel like I won't do too much in terms of wanting to be there, but which is also like maybe I don't know if it's gonna be a problem, but I definitely want to be. I definitely want to give them more like a mentality or mindset, a way of thinking. I think that'll be my main focus, right? Is one, giving them that validation. I think that'll be so crucial as well. Because when I look at my life, I'm like, maybe I could have done so many great things if I just got one, you're sick of this. Like genuinely just got that.
Why do you think the validation is important?
We all need it, man.
Yeah.
We do. Like we're nothing without community, right? So it's like if I don't give it to them, they're gonna go outside and they might be doing the wrong things, but getting also the wrong validation, right? So it's like that's so important, man. So definitely want to be there and just like be aware of how the things and like how they feel about certain things and like where their passions lie and like stuff like that, and just also like help them find passion, help them find what they're interested in, help them understand how they feel and think, but also like now instill that discipline that it takes to achieve these things as well, which is very crucial as a dad. So it's like just the balance of helping them evaluate things and think and feel stuff and find their passion, but also teaching them like, okay, listen, it's not enough to just feel this way and have feelings and like passions. Like there's also the side of things you need to look at, which is like the discipline side, the consistency, and like if you want to do anything great, like why not you type of thing. Like just like I think validation from me, 100% is what I want to give my kids, and especially on the good things they do. Very much 100% amplified on the good things they do. I think that's very important, and that's definitely kind of father I want to be. I think that's so crucial.
How do you feel like what's happened to you growing up has impacted how you are as a partner to your wife now?
Yeah, I would say that in a way, it probably has made me a better partner. Even though it didn't start that way, because then it's like we met so early as well. So I think we met, we met when I got 19. So we met at 19,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, I remember. I was already 19. Yeah, we met at 19. Yeah, 100%. We met at 19. And it's like, at that point, I hadn't like gone through the process of like breaking down what I've just gone through or like dealing with stuff or like basically finding myself type of thing. So definitely like chatted about a lot of like, a lot of things I was doing at that time. But then if I think about, I would say she actually made me a better partner than, you know, than I realized. But 100%, I'll say it's not more so what I've been through and how it's helped, but I'll say more so what she's brought to my life that kind of made me reflect on what I've been through. If that makes sense. So yeah, in a sense, like she's helped me be a better partner as opposed to like because if I go off what I've been through, it's like I should be a horrible partner, you know. But yeah, just like yeah, the amount of like love and like and support that she gives, kind of makes me think, damn, I need to do better. I need to like, do you know what I mean? I need to look into stuff. I need to improve, type of thing.
What sort of how has she made you a better partner? So you mentioned support, or what else has she done? Like,
It's just like for me, I think that's one thing. I think I guess thinking about it now, that's probably one thing that's I've probably felt like I've lacked, which is that validation, that support. Like, and she doesn't sugarcoat stuff. It's like if I'm doing shit, like she'll tell me, bro, you're off, and she's not afraid to do it, which is like also a hard pill to swallow because like your ego just gets in the way. But yeah, I hate she doesn't watch this, but she's always right. She's kind of always right, you know. So it's like even though it's hard to like accept certain things, it's like growing up, I used to smoke a lot. She was never a fan of that until like she never indulged me in that. She never was around and she hated that. And she would tell me, but she was still with me, but she would always tell me, and I was always like, oh, you're always nagging type of thing. But and she was right about certain behaviors that I had when I was smoking weed, and it's like, okay, yeah, fair enough. I see that now. So it's just like those things that I didn't have to, or I didn't feel like I needed to deal with, but just having someone that was more like balanced in that sense kind of made me aware of like my flaws. And then I had to like do the hard work of like, okay, cool, she's not going to fix me, I have to fix me, but at least I have someone that's pointing out that, cool, this thing isn't right. But then also like on the opposite side, it's like the things that I do right, she definitely validates that as well. Maybe not as often as the ones I do. But just like just yeah, I'll say she definitely made me a better partner than I would like to give myself credit for. Yeah.
how do you think you've added to her life?
Ooh. Um I like to think that for one, like the mindset as well. So like I think we actually have so much power and like responsibility as men that don't actually give ourselves credit for, right? And once you find yourself, I guess, and once you tap into that, what makes you, I guess, a balanced man. So not just I make money and I'm just, but like also the other side of it, which is like, the emotional awareness as well, but also backed up with strength, right? It's like that middle ground of like someone that's just like centered, right? Once you have that, like, I mean, women can be all over the place as well. And it's like, I bring that balance of, okay, I'm just going to say as it is based on, um, based on the fact that I feel strongly about this. And I mean, I'm like, there's no emotional ties to certain things. It's just like point blank, this is how it is. Then what are you going to do about this, right? So I think that I definitely bring that she would come to me, if she was indecisive or stuff, which I guess is also important to have that.
I mean, naturally, men will want to take lead.
Yeah,
You know, I wouldn't say all women. I don't like to make blanket statements,
yeah,
but a lot of them will kind of be indecisive.
yeah. Obviously, I'd say that she is um, probably one of the strongest women I've met in terms of like. So when she comes to me and says, "I don't know what to do," then okay. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like she's always like, taking the lead on certain things and just doing it. And it's like, she loves that, she enjoys that, and that's just who she is. It's like, cool. So actually, I don't have to do too much work in terms of like trying to validate her or try to, it's more of she's confident in herself. It's just when, she's indecisive about certain things, just having that, um, just ears to listen and also like wisdom to give if I do have any. So yeah, yeah, man.
So let's expand upon like what you said about a balanced man. What do you think? now in society as us men are lacking? Why aren't we balanced?
First of all, I'm still feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, I'm not. But
From what you've seen so
yeah,
far,
for me, from my experience, from my upbringing, just going to how I was raised, who my parents were, what kind of men I saw, um, I'll say it's like there is probably too much emphasis on feeling. That's what I would say, right? There's so much emphasis on how you feel. And I don't mean to say that it's a bad thing. I think just that balance of, okay, cool, you feel this way, but like as a man, you have certain responsibilities you kind of have to be balanced, right? So yeah, you can feel this way, and you can feel stuff I feel stuff. I'm a feeling guy, but I think there's also that side of you that should be able to execute, right? It's like you can't just leave all the back of, oh, I don't feel like, I think that's what I see nowadays. It's like there's just too many guys saying, oh, I don't feel like, then, just like, yeah, feeling, but like also just going, right? Because we need, like, society depends on that. And in a sense, someone has to be balanced. Like, I don't know. So it's like the opposite side. It's like you can be too go, 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 and then not be, do you know what I mean? Self aware, or like even have this sort of like emotional awareness of, everyone around you and stuff like that. So I'm not saying, what I'm saying is, I think we tend to just go opposite sides. And that's what I would say is like, the big thing that I'm aware of is just like a man that can execute, that can be disciplined, that can take responsibility, that can be accountable, and also someone that can be emotionally aware, right? It's like those two things is kind of what we need as a society to be balanced men, right? So it's like when it's time to be, it's like the story. I'm a Christian, right? So it's like the story of Solomon, and there's a story about having there's two women. I think there's two women, and they had kids. I think one of the women had lost a child, right? And then she wanted to have the other one's kid. I'm gonna
that's right.
crucify me. Well, I'm just gonna like just kind of narrate it the way I remember it, right? So part of his wisdom was to say, do you know what? Let's divide the kid into half. So you both take half. Since basically you're saying this is your kid and she's saying, no, this is my kid. So let's divide the kid into half. Now the mom, the actual parent was like, do you know what? Give the kid to her. Like, don't kill. So like, for him it was like, okay, cool. Now it's like being able to be that balanced, right? And not be emotionally tied to the woman that's screaming, that's my child, she took my child. But just say, okay, you know what? I make a decisive decision, right? Or a decision to divide this kid into half, knowing very well that whoever actually gave it to this child is going to say no, right? And that takes a level of awareness as well, emotional awareness, because you're aware that if you love something, you're not going to want to kill it, right? So it's like being able to take that, but then also make a decisive action, right? Do you get what I'm saying? It's like it's a code. Like someone might look at me like it's cold, you're on the divide, but like being able to do the two things at the same time, right? Do you get what I'm saying? It's just like we don't have those sort of men anymore where
I think
there's that balance.
it's kind of isn't it? We're in a space now where we have kind of the polar opposites. Where we live in extremes. You have the kind of hyper masculine men who just talk about money. That's a sign of strength. Of sleeping around, having abundance of women, and all these external things. And then on the flip side, as you mentioned, we have access to all the information now, so that allows us to tap into our emotion. But then there are many of us who lean too much into that, and I think both of them have some valid side to them, but then, we need to come together to create that middle path, because otherwise, what are you then?
Yeah, definitely. And it just shows maybe like we are living in a society where purpose isn't like a more glorified thing. I think that's what it is. Because then if someone could feel like if, for instance, growing up and it's kind of like how like my childhood felt. It's like if you say you wanted to be an engineer, but really and truly like that was not your passion, or you're not even thinking about how you're going to be beneficial to society, right? It was more of like, what can I get? Meaning how much I can make when I become an engineer. And it's like those sort of men we're raising, right? So how are you supposed to be self-aware? You cannot be self-aware. You cannot want to contribute to society if you're not aware of the problems, right? So you can't go into an area of field where you can't see a problem and you can't see why you would be a good fit there. So that's kind of like it's kind of the whole issue is just like not having that balance is just what I find it is. It's like you go into something and it's not because of, okay, how can I bring value here? How can I, what's my purpose here? And it's more towards what can I get? What can I get? What can I get? Because you need to be a man, you need to be certain things in society, you know? So it's like, I don't know. I don't know how we're going to get there. But I think at the end of the day, it's just, it's entirely up to each and every one of us to like basically lead the way in a sense.
That's it. Though. It's about raising a generation of men and women who have those values.
Yeah.
You know, it's as men and women, all of us coming together to have these dialogues.
Mm.
You know, I think we know this as men. We're kind of taught not to talk about this sort of stuff because it's seen as a weakness. So we need to have more of this sort of.
I never really understood that, you know.
Yeah, I never understood that. But
How, I think it's the ultimate strength. You know, I think there's something strong. Like there's nothing that shows strength more than being able to be aware. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like,
well, I as you mentioned earlier, we need community, and I've always had this mindset that yes, we are strong individuals, but together we're something greater.
mhm,
You know, we need each other, and it's not a weakness to say, "Hey, I need help."
Mhm.
It's a strength to say,
Mhm.
"Actually, you know what? I'm not feeling good, or I don't understand this.
yeah,
Help me."
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I think as you mentioned now as well, because everything's very much about me now and trying to get what, how can I be happy? It's not about the greater whole anymore.
mm,
People they let their pride get in the way and be like, actually, I don't need to ask for help.
mm,
I don't need to, you know, I'm
yeah,
better or I know and stuff. And it's that's the kind of world I see now, where it's a very much selfishness, a hedonism, where it's just what can I get, and not necessarily thinking about the greater
yeah, yeah. I mean, to be fair, good relationships or building trust within relationships. So maybe that's probably put just paranoid. Like I know for one, like speaking of which, I know it might be hard for me to ask someone I don't know and someone I do know. So I think it's like maybe if we just focused more on providing value or being of service to, you know, in the way we can to people, then maybe people would actually open up more and be like, "Do you know what, I actually need help here," and just be as real as they could be, you know, and actually get help that they need. I think it's just now we live in a society where it's very transactional,
yeah.
and sometimes there's no like there's transactions like for me it's like I said, there needs to be that balance, right? So there should be transactions in general. We're not going to function as a society, but there should be an element of humanity within those transactions. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like I want to help you, but I'm also human and I need
Yeah,
so and
yeah.
so. Do you know what I'm saying? And that exchange where there's a complete understanding of both sides and like what you bring in terms of value and also what you need, right? I think it's just that trust, like just building that trust, which is hard to do, but I find it just building that trust within like every person you meet is an opportunity to create that relationship, right? That's how I see it anyway. But
What,
yeah,
what do you think's led to this of trust and lack of sort of wanting to help others?
fear.
Where's that fear coming from? What do you reckon?
You know, if you look at society as it is, and you look at the world as it is and where it's going, we have stories like, for instance, growing up Nigerians, and you hear stories of like your leaders, right? And people like taking millions and millions of dollars or billions of naira that is supposed to help you and have a better environment, have a better upbringing, or have a better education, or better healthcare, or all of these things. And someone just like you, right, is stealing all those, jamming all those funds. It's like, it's just kind of like, you know, if, I mean, any normal human being would look at that and be like, yeah, it's all man for himself. Like, do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think it's also, I think, this is what I think, yeah. I think it's up to leaders, and I don't just mean political leaders, but everyone in any role of leadership. So whether you know, whether you're running your own business, whether whether you're a manager, whatever it is you do, but you have some kind of influence over other people. I think it starts from there, right? So I think the world is as it is, and the fear is there because people that have power to actually make a difference abuse power. And it could be as simple as the bus driver, right? He saw you running. My guy left. Right? It could be as simple as that, but like you have some level of power and influence over someone's day, someone's life, but you choose not to be aware of that and you choose to abuse that. I think that's where the problem is. It's not on the general population as to, I mean, it is because they're going to end up being leaders too, hopefully, but it's also on the people that are already there, right? So change starts from the top. It's like you cannot change people or how people feel and behave if as a leader you're not making that start, right? So I think it starts from the top, man. I think everyone in any position of influence or authority should be trying to build relationships, meaningful relationships and trust, right? Yeah, which is also a very big responsibility, isn't it?
Oh, power is an interesting thing. Like I've always, not always, but what I've observed over the years is like power is something that's bestowed upon you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas what I've seen is a lot of weak men seek power.
Mm-hmm.
And when these people get this power, they not abuse it because it's their way of having some sort of validation, some control when they didn't have anything.
There's nothing based on.
Yeah. So, and I feel like how leaders, in my eyes, a good leader is someone who leads from within. You know, who never they know when to stand up front, but ultimately they see themselves as everyone else.
Yeah, yeah. Which is that same emotional awareness.
Yeah.
The emotional intelligence. It's like maybe we do need more emotionally intelligent men
Yeah.
and women in power.
100%. But then, how is that going to happen? That's the thing. I don't ever feel like we'll maybe in the UK be in a place where we have that because the
Yeah.
system's too wide where it is. But I feel like this us as men or us as people in general having that awareness now, we then just tap into others and create that sort of community, and it kind of passes on, doesn't it? It's
Yeah, it does. Like if you look at where things are and it comes I think I was playing looks like trying to put there. But if we look at how things are now, you kind of lose hope to make a change. So I never like try to look at things as they are. I always look at things as how I want them to be.
Yeah.
Then it helps you find an actual solution to actually getting there. So it's like if you look at how things are now, and look at everyone in some kind of leadership position, and like, oh, they're all rubbish and they're all this and they're all that. Then you almost like exclude yourself from the responsibilities that you have. Right? It's like my thing is everyone listening, everyone that that understands this, do your part, right? So even if it's at the lowest level, and for instance you're a coach, so like that's your responsibility, and that's your position of leadership. It's like how do you handle that, and just focus on that. Like focus on what you can do, and then you'll be surprised that people actually observe. Like people, they look at this thing and they're like, okay, this guy. And then if you do it long enough, and it's not just like if you sustain that and do it for long enough, eventually, if you're a good coach, I'm using that as an example. You get to the top, why? And then all of a sudden, people want to be like you.
Yeah.
So now, if they look at, okay, who's Jacob as a coach, and they see all these qualities, best believe they're going to want to emulate that because now they want to be like, So it's like, it doesn't just start when you're at the top. It starts when you're at the bottom, getting to the top, right? Which eventually you will if you're that good. So it's like, be aware of that. And then just like, find out how can I, as a leader in this position or as a coach in this position, how can I be of, influence to people that I work with, but also in a way where it represents who I am as a leader that could potentially influence other people to want to emulate this. No matter how difficult it is, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that is ultimately your responsibility and our responsibility to do, not to say, okay, this guy at the top is rubbish and like da da da. I don't see how it's going to change. Because the reality is you'll maybe one day going to be that person. It's like, what are you doing right now to build those qualities and that character to be someone different when you get there? So that's kind of how I see it. It's like, if you look at things outside of your control, it's like you almost become powerless. and which is kind of like everything that got me into bodybuilding was like just some kind of control as to myself, self-control. So it's like instead of blaming everyone, which I did my whole life, and I was like, it's sad, sad boy, this, that. You know what I mean? And like, cause even more chaos in your life.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, I've got control. Like, okay, everything starts from within. It's like, what can I do to be better? What can I do to improve my situation? It's like, that gives you power. And then all of a sudden now you become this well-balanced person because you've been through stuff. So you know the feeling, you're aware of this, negative emotion or what that feels like, but you're also trying to improve. So it makes you a very powerful, strong person because you've gone through stuff and you're like improving and you're doing your best to make, people around you better. That for me is, I'm not saying everyone needs to go through hard times or whatever, but I'm saying everyone needs to have this certain level of awareness, but also like responsibility and accountability, right? To make actual changes, from the bottom to the top. It's like we're all going to get in the next 10, 20 years, like everyone's going to grow and get to a certain point. And it could be a very high place. And it's like, who are you when you get there? And what's your contribution to society? How are you going to be your value? Not still what am I going to get? If I'm going to buy a Lamborghini, I'm going to get there, I'm going to buy a house. It's like, cool. It's all nice and nice stuff to want to aspire to have. But it's like, and for me, that's for myself, I'm more interested in like legacy and like what I live and who I am and how I deal and relate with people, even though they can be so annoying. It's like, do you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
people though, yeah.
yeah, but it can be. It's like, but honestly, it's almost selfish, right? Because I'm not thinking about their cruelty or like how horrible they can be. I'm just thinking more about what I want to represent and holding on to that because that is my power. That is my responsibility, not what someone else is doing. Does that make sense? So yeah, as easy as it is to say, it's like we have a certain level of responsibility to make changes.
Yeah.
We shouldn't underestimate that. I think when we start doing that, we start to feel powerless, and I hate feeling powerless, man.
And I think people forget how much power they have.
So much power.
It's very, very easy to play the victim card,
Yeah.
to blame the world, to blame, the past or whatever. But sorry, shit happens,
You still like,
And
honestly, something happened. You still are like, yeah, you could have been the victim, but you still have a fair level of responsibility to.
But even then, cool, you're the victim, but then what's next then? Because having that mindset, that kind of sadness, whatever, resentment, it's only going to affect you.
Yeah.
No one else.
Yeah.
But then again, some people like that misery. Some people like being there, which is fine. Everyone's got their reason for doing what they do. But like as you mentioned, I like to always see things as there's hope. The world is a beautiful place, but there is some there are some other bad stuff out there. There are some nefarious things out there. But does it mean we just hide away in our homes?
Yeah. It's the writer or something. I think it was Jordan Peterson. And he was saying how real strength, real virtue isn't in being like less harmful. Like it's like being aware of everything else that's going on and still choosing to be a self person, like almost like you're above this level of like, meaningless, like something's going on in the world and the world is in chaos, but you're choosing to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, like that is real strength. Joy.
Well, this is it's very easy to conform, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because being authentic, being true to ourselves, whatever that means, can be a challenge. Because when everyone's saying we need to do this, this is this, and then you want to do something separate, you almost feel isolated and you feel lonely.
Yeah.
But only by doing that, I would value having that authenticity and more than just being a part of people or something that will kind of go like that the moment something goes wrong. For what I've observed in my life is because there were moments when I felt lonely that no one understood me as a person, but then the more you do that, the more you then attract those right people into your life, and that's what you say, community, and it's building upon that.
Yeah. I'm actually so big in community, even though I have a very small one. But I think if there's one thing I could ask for, it's like if you can make a wish, and let's say I had a genie in the bottle, and I can make a wish, and there's like 3 wishes. Like one of them would be community, man. Just having real people, honest people, hardworking people, as friends, colleagues, whatever it is, just having that. I think that's something that just isn't so like there. Like it's not.
Well, I think like my same thing. My wish ever since I was a child was just to have that.
Mm,
You know, I love my community, my family, but never really understood us. And I've always had this thing that I wanted to build something like that, build a community. That's
mm,
one of the ideas of starting this is to get people to do that, to
mm,
have this space where we can all come together and just share our voices and
mm.
remind us that there's hope. And I
Yeah,
think no matter how strong and confident we may be as individuals, our greatest strength lies in each other as
yeah,
well.
100%. 100%. We need each other. So like, even as a coach and see that for what I value I bring to my clients, right? And see how much of a difference it makes for them. I'm like thinking, bro, I also want this for this. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like so definitely like we need each other, man. And yeah, I think it's actually what got me into or what I not what got me into training, but what kept me doing it is having a local gym, and I went there and it's like it was just a group of like, 3, 4 guys, same guys, regular guys, every day would just come in, do bicep curls, do bench press. It's like, but then we'd chat in between that and just talk about life and like stuff. And obviously I was super young at that time, but just listening to them, you know, it's like I know older guys. So like listening to them, I'm just being like, you know, like cool.
Yeah.
This is nice.
But I think that's one thing I love about the bodybuilding world
Mm,
is like obviously we're recording this right now in Muscle Works
mm,
and you walk in there, every single individual here will say
mm,
hello, you
mm,
know, they'll have a conversation with you
mm.
because they're on that same journey.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, this is a great community for it. And I
yeah.
always it's the same thing like in culture how we as men don't have those spaces anymore. You
Mm,
know, you go to the pub with your mates, have a laugh, or
mm,
you go to the gym or whatever, we don't have those spaces anymore. And I think
mm,
the gym is still the last thing left now where
mm,
we can get together. And it's one of the reasons I love coming here.
yeah, yeah. Common goal, right?
Yeah.
It's a common interest. Just meeting real people and having those real conversations. So everyone's different in way, isn't it? Everyone has their own uniqueness.
That's it. I mean, like, everyone's here to craft a physique, but the reason for that is unique.
Yeah, yeah, it's almost similar. Yeah, it's almost similar in a way. You can almost trace it back to the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I love about training and why I love coaching because what you know what other profession where we have access to people to hear stories to be able to help them and empower them to be the best they can be, you know, and again it's as you said it's a responsibility.
yeah, yeah. It's 100%. Something we shouldn't take for granted as well.
Definitely 100%, man. Let's talk about the bodybuilding.
Yes.
So why bodybuilding? So what was it that gave you that feeling about bodybuilding?
The mention is like just having that reputation from these guys. Because when I came in my eyes, they were like action action figure here. Like there was like you know watching like comics and like seeing this guy all and people out of shape. So like going from that to them looking small in my eyes to them saying I'm big and like saying bro are you doing steroids, are you doing this, what are you taking? And like at the time I had no idea what any of this thing was. So, like for me that was like oh I couldn't see you know like you can think no, I'm sure that every bodybuilder can relate. Like, you almost don't see how I guess yeah but people see I think that and I was like, okay, cool. And I kind of went off with that. Even though I didn't really put much thought into that, I wasn't sure. I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time in terms of it was just, kind of just what I majority I embarked on more for self improvement, right? So it wasn't like oh bodybuilding or like I want to do this. It was just more I'm gonna be better. Like I did it every day. Like well 6 a.m. runs, finish the run, go to the gym, train at night. Like it was basically my life, just like instilling this certain level of like discipline and mindsets. Like you know, I didn't want to run in the morning. It was raining. I was like, go. And I was doing this every single day, just purely for you know, just I wanted to prove that I had self control, but also had discipline, and I also could even when I didn't feel like doing something, I could still do it, right, and build that resilience. So it was kind of like I got stumbled onto bodybuilding along the way. So when I decided to do it, was like after a year of training. And then I googled like how to make money off having muscle. Literally, I still remember I just googled that, and I saw something. I was like, I want to be Mr. Olympia thing one day. And then my interest kind of just started from there, and I just started watching a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of training styles, and just trying them myself. And then I think it was three. My first competition was in 2022, so it took me about 4 years, 4 or 5 years to get to stage. And then yeah, just funny story about getting to stage was I kind of kept, like at some point my momentum dropped. So like I had this idea I was gonna be a bodybuilder and I was gonna do bodybuilding, and then somewhere along the way it's like life just hits you, right? And I kind of just lost the zeal. I won't say I lost the idea of it or the passion for it. It's just like I lost the interest at that point because I felt like there was something else like greater to like attend to, and I remember like having the worst year ever, man. That's when I got hit by a car. And I almost lost the ability to even train or like, actually bodybuild. So I think that kind of just made me also wake up and be like, bro, you need to do this thing you've been saying you're gonna do for the last 4 or 5 years. So yeah, so stage my first show was 2022, right after my accident. I was like, give or take 6 months after.
What happened with the accident? What injuries were they, or how did it
Um,
happen?
yeah, no, I mean, I was literally on my way to work and I was rushing. It was essential. Central was crazy, first of all, to cycle. So I was cycling and I was rushing. And first of all, it was my fault because I wasn't clear to go. There was no green light, nothing. I just thought I could maneuver the traffic, right? So, but then I couldn't see my left. There's this big ass van there. So I couldn't see the left. So I couldn't see that those guys were still moving. But it didn't look like anyone was coming. So I just thought, okay, I'm just gonna go for it. And I literally went out and literally this car. I remember it was a silver Toyota car, just boom, hit me. All I can remember was just going head down, getting up, then like taking a picture, sending it to work. Look, I just got hit by a car. I know, craziest thing because in my head, I don't want to be. I hate being that guy that's not reliable. So I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna make it to work. Like, I just got in an accident. I didn't realize how much of an impact that hit was until my neck felt very like numb and weak, and then my head started spinning. And I was like, what the fuck is that, And then people just like came to my aid, called the ambulance, and then they were like in a panic. I could see they were in a panic. They're like, with head injuries, they're always like, I found out anyway, head injuries, they're always not sure, and they're always like very like almost I guess scared because they never know what it could be. So I was just forced to lay down, and literally I was like this on my back like a whole day until they could do scans and all that stuff. But it was scary experience, man. I can't no, I was literally funniest story. I was on the hospital bed, and then I went to go to the toilet, and then the nurse came. I was like, press the buzz, and the nurse came in. It's like, okay, I told her what I wanted to do, and she like, do you need help? And she brought I don't know what they call it, the
Catheter?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. She brought that. She was like, do you need help? I was like, what do you mean? Do I need help? Bro, I never felt so weak and embarrassed and like I was hating life from this point. I was like, this cannot be my life. I think that made it even worse. I think it made the whole situation worse. I was like, I need help. Oh man. So yeah, it was a scary night, man. It was like one of those nights where you deep like how things could just
yeah.
all of a sudden I was on my way to work and I was in a dark guy and then now I'm like in the hospital bed and I'm not sure about my fate. But thankfully it was like a minor. I had minor damage to my spine. I think it was C4, C5. It was more like it was a small crack. Like it wasn't deep and it wasn't something that needed like any like surgery or anything. Thankfully, so it was more of me just being in a neck brace. I think I had to be in a neck brace for 3 months. So I couldn't train. I couldn't do anything for 3 months. It was just yeah, it was yeah, horrible experience, man. So yeah, so I think that woke me up, and I was like, "Do you know what? This I don't think you think you have time, but like, yeah,
Scary.
yeah, yeah. So like, I had to do something about bodybuilding. Like, yeah, I can't keep putting this inside. Just want to go all in now, and then anything to, it's like, yeah, all in bodybuilding. This is about. Yeah.
How did you feel on your first stage?
I just got there.
Yeah.
I was happy. Happy. And to be there, I was starting, like, eventually, the kicked in on, but like, I just didn't want to, what I'd gone through, I was like, I was just have to be there. I was literally the happiest guy. But yeah, I'm so proud of myself as well. Yeah, I finally did this. Yeah, I think, yeah, it was definitely, I think it'll probably be one of the highlights just because of the journey to getting there. Yeah, no, I'm super proud of it. I wasn't, yeah, I came in second. I did two shows. I did men's physique and I did open bodybuilding in the like, two big affair. Um, yeah, so I did the two shows and I came second on the two shows and I got feedback from it and I knew I was going to be men's physique. I was too big for men's physique. So it gave me clarity as well on like where I wanted to go in terms of bodybuilding. And yeah, ultimately it was just like probably it was the best experience I could have had. And I couldn't have gone through that experience any other way. I think it was just the perfect experience to go through because I felt like a winner regardless. You know, like I literally felt like I'd won. Could have not been there. I could have, been told to never train, or like if I train, like the same, like it could have been something. Could have been on a wheelchair. Like it could have just been just something, it could have been a different story. So I was just so proud and so happy and so grateful to even compete and to like see this dream become actually a thing as opposed to an idea. So yeah, big, probably one of my. I still have the medals still hanging. I'm like probably cherish that more than I do winning my first show this year just because it has more like
More sentimental.
yeah, it has
Yeah.
more yeah, 100%. But yeah,
What's next for you in bodybuilding?
next right now is just improve. I made a lot of improvements obviously from my first one, which was got me a win, and now it's just like I mean it's an endless journey of just constant improvement. So now it's just improve and put on more muscle, and yeah, come back soon sometime.
What's the ultimate goal? Olympian.
Yeah, Olympia, man. Yeah, ultimate goal. I think it's. I started this, and I don't think it was like I did. First of all, I have no background in bodybuilding. I don't know anyone, right? And when I searched and I typed, "How do you make a living from having muscle?" It was Mr. Olympia was one of the first things that came out. So my mindset right from day one when I got into bodybuilding was like, I want to win Mr. Olympia, and like I didn't even understand how crazy that statement was or how that crazy like now. I think as you go through the journey, you realize how challenging that idea is. But at the time, I didn't know, and I was just, let's say delusional, but like in a good way because I did everything I needed to do. I started to eating and I was watching the videos and training. Like everything was intense, was full on, was all in. But the goal has never been to, I just want to jump on stage and like, I didn't even know what original was or what pro card was or like I just need Olympia. Like, so anytime people ask me, even now as I get older in the game and as I do it, it's like, I almost like, I almost find myself holding my tongue from saying Mr. Olympia because now I understand how crazy it is. But it's still the goal, it's still the dream, it's still what I want. It's nothing else. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think there was a chance of winning Mr. Olympia. I didn't think I wanted this. So that's why I'm doing bodybuilding to be a Mr. Olympia one day.
I'm sure you'll get there.
Yeah, and that's the plan. And there's no other plan than to do that. So yeah, man, that's the goal. Yeah, yeah, I know. Sounds crazy even saying
Yeah,
it.
it's not crazy. We need those goals. We need
Yeah,
those things that kind of we feel like they're out there, but that's what gives us
yeah,
that drive.
yeah, 100%, 100%. But yeah, it keeps me definitely keeps me accountable. It's like it's just like it's one to say you want something, right? And it's a different thing to actually do
Do
it.
it, yeah.
And so even when I'm having like bad days, I just think, would Mr. Olympia be
Yeah.
jamming and not eating their meals and not training? And like even down to like the smallest details of like trying to improve recovery and sleep, and doing the sauna or getting some massage, like all those things. Even at the smallest level and like as difficult as it can be because you don't have all those resources. It's like you still need to be that guy even before you be that guy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in itself, there's definitely those challenges there, and it makes you like question why do you want this again? But no doubt, like, I'll say with confidence that I'm doing everything I can do 100% to get there. Um, yeah.
Well, I think that's a perfect conclusion to this
Yeah.
talk. I'm gonna leave you with one more question.
Yeah.
I'll put this out to what's the one thing you feel right now as the world that we need? So closing statement.
That
Yeah.
Responsibility.
Why does that matter?
Mine is a great deal, right? So it's one thing to say, oh, there's a problem, and it's also another thing to actually do something about it. But not just to do it or try and do it. It's like we have this thing where, like for instance, use fitness because that's something I relate to, and I'm sure you can. People start in general and be like, do you know what? I want to lose weight and I want to get fit. And somewhere along the way, they stop doing it. And it could be for valid reasons, right? But the way I see it is this: if you say you're going to do something, like, why would you say something that like you cannot do or you're not going to do? Right? For me, it's the way I see it is like I say I'm going to be a bodybuilder. I say I'm going to win this Olympia. I'm going to do everything until the day that I can, and I look at all my options. Like, and I mean, really, like I look at all my options. It's not what I could do. I'm like, okay, cool, I've done everything I could do. But when it comes to your health, like there's always something you can do. And for me, it's like I find people are not either holding themselves accountable or not having systems in place to hold them accountable. And then there's no way you're gonna there's no way you're going to be excellent. I guess it all comes down to being excellent. And I think that's something I would like to even see more is that drive to be excellent. Because that brings about you want to be accountable, to be held accountable. And it's just that. And it's like we cannot do anything or achieve anything significant or anything worth having without some level of accountability. Like in every, not just fitness, and I'm saying it every single understanding that and doing something about it and like actually having systems in place. And like, do you know what I'm saying? It's like that. And like just start from the ground rule, which is for me is yourself. So before you start, wanting to fix, your financial situation or fix like your hairline or like I don't know, whatever it is, like start from you in your own body, in your own mind, because those things you can actually do. It doesn't necessarily require that significant amounts of resources to do them. Like you can actually go for a run. You can actually spend time and reflect and journal. And you know what I'm saying? And like you can talk to someone. There's all of this there, and it's kind of no excuse to not be doing them
Great.
consistently, and you need accountability. So I think more so accountability and like people just being holding each other accountable and just being accountable in general, and maybe in that sense also a degree of less judgment. So to balance that out, there's one thing to be this rod guy saying no accountability, but like I think balancing that because then also people like you can't make mistakes. Like something that and things can happen, and like you might follow up, and some of the things that happen like that happens to us in general. But so having accountability and also on the other side, less judgment and more like okay, bro.
So
In the spirit of holding you accountable, I get it. This has happened, but we need to.
yeah.
Right? So just having that I think we can definitely we can get somewhere where we can build like something healthy and like, be in a healthy place as people in general, you know?
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's a perfect conclusion. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you, Jacob, for sharing your story. And once again, thank you for listening. And I look forward to sharing more episodes with you guys. Take care, guys.